Welcome back, everyone, to This Week I'm Learning, the podcast where the hosts are wired for sound and the topics will leave you amped for more. We're back after a few weeks off, and we're hoping your 2021 is off to a good start. Unlike
you fucked it up
podcast.
Already, Brandon.
Well, I mean, it could be a good smart, too. I mean, it doesn't have to not be.
I mean, I guess it would be better to be off to a smart start than a dumb start.
Or a shart. Anyways.
Oh, yeah, nobody likes a shart. Either way, this is episode 31, even though some of us want to call it season 2, episode 1.
The correct
episode
way.
31. Episode
Literally
31.
everything else does it that way.
We could also change it up and make every week a new season. So this is season 2, episode 1, and the next week will be season 3, episode 1.
We could start doing the
pretend we never talked about this.
numbers by Microsoft. You know.
Oh God.
Next this could be
95,
the episode
98, 2000.
Episode series
episode 1.
7.
ME.
Yep.
Episode
7,
10X.
8, 10.
Just skip around. Jump
Why not?
around.
2004, 20H2.
It's how we know we're fancy. When Apple starts copying us, then we'll be set.
Yeah, we're not going to call it, this is episode Wildcat.
Episode Extreme Fun.
Episode Ocelot.
Or, episode Kit Kat.
Sex Panther.
Fucking androids. And their stupid version names.
Oreo.
They're all
That's
delicious.
Still my favorite.
They're all delicious.
Marshmallow.
Unlike your
but-
cats, they are not delicious.
But Google's evil now, so now it's going to be like Android
Subjugation.
release, terrifying world order eventually. 3.1.
Eventually,
Get on with it.
Eventually our phones are just going to be cyborg.
We're going to have
Cylons.
glass. It's fine.
That's the word I
It's
was looking for. Cylons.
Cyberpunk
Anyway.
2077 is going to be real. Glitches and all.
Oh God. So yeah, episode 31, recorded January 24th, 2021. I'm your host, Brandon Vader, also known as Dracanis. Down below me, Cody Stratman, also known as Psychonitrous. To his right, I almost said left. To his right, Colton Roper, also known as Seeker4761. And above him and directly to my right is Charlie Stifler, also known as Mjolnir. So, yeah,
Brandon,
how was you
since
guys'
it's-
time off?
Oh, well, it was good. It was much needed, I think. It was good.
Yeah.
I mean, long. I forgot how to do everything. Forgot how computers work. Forgot how to technology a little bit, but we're getting back into it, so I'm excited. Just me? Am I the only one who had anything to happen?
No. I'll be honest. I've gotten fully vaccinated. Yay. And I have been Michael, the Archangel of Death, for the last 3 weeks. I've run so many cardiac arrests and had so many family things happen that black cloud following me everywhere I go.
Well, I mean, stress is one of the greatest killers, and the 2020 and, well, still 2021 has been stressful.
Boomers are getting older.
Are they going to explode like Left 4 Dead style?
Be interesting.
Everybody forget that terminology.
Or how about that? Wait. There's I called you a boomer earlier this week. I have not forgotten that terminology. The teenagers are exploding intro to a movie. Yeah, that one.
What?
I'll link it here. I'll just show a little thumbnail here.
Excellent. I will even
Okay.
write that down.
Interesting.
See if I remember how to do that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I agree. This was a nice, much needed break, but I am ready to hit the ground running again.
Yeah.
Get things back to fun normal. This podcast is definitely fun and normal.
Since it's so fun, Brandon,
Exceptional.
before we start our spiel, I think you should kind of reiterate to our fans what this podcast even is, since it's always a mess. I think we should refocus, hyper-focus, and tell us what this podcast is, Brandon. Introduce us.
So this is the four of us learning interesting things throughout the week, lightly researching them, and then spewing the factoids back out at the fan base. Literally letting the Fecium hit the Fanium.
So it's kind of like all of us taking a quiz in our subject matter, but instead just doing an auditory report on air. But a really crappy one.
Poorly researched is a
without
keystone of This Week I'm Learning.
It's usually pretty interesting, though. So,
Interesting is important, but poorly researched.
Yep.
There's only so much
We're
bullshit
not
you
afraid to say, I don't know.
Again, another keystone. All I've known since we started this podcast, I've learned so much, and I know even less. So I'm excited to keep it going.
Me too. Well, let's get on with it. We should have a fun show this week.
That's
Well, it's always a fun show.
Just kidding. It's always fun. It's always fun. We're fun. We're fun. Damn it. We're fucking fun.
Yeah. Well, this week Cody is going to tell us about the orange box and not made by Valve. He hopes.
I really do hope. Yep.
Why? So it actually gets finished?
I was gonna say, so it actually comes out within a decent time period.
Well, we know they're finished. Anyway, Colton is going to tell us that we can measure time, mass, and heavy things very accurately.
I was gonna use
Is it-
thick, but I just wasn't sure if Cody understood that reference, so I kept it simple.
So are we talking heavy metal?
It's
So, actually, yes,
Ooh.
but not in that way. Heavy metal that is heavy,
Wow.
literally.
Cool.
But Charlie is going to tell us about how battery storage is getting really cool.
I specifically did not tell him to use finger guns, and I feel like I should have specified don't use finger guns.
There's
that
was
terrible.
always time for finger guns, guys.
It's like there's always time for lube.
God, that's a good movie.
And, God damn
Such a good movie.
Continuing the pre-conversation.
Yeah. And Brandon is going to tell us that Microsoft is trying to resurrect the dead and replace the living.
Dun dun dun.
By the way, my 5G signal is very strong.
That's good. I'm
Yeah,
glad
we don't
that.
have 5G.
Yeah, well, not yet. You have to get that. You have to get the
Okay.
finger gun in the.
Kind of want to go into like a little mini thing with the 5G. So,
Ooh.
Cody mini rant.
We got time for that. It's fine.
all right. So all of these like crazy things are usually based off of like a tiny, itty bitty nugget of truth. Otherwise, they're just really crazy. And the whole 5G thing, I speculate, I don't know this for 100% certain, but I speculate the reason that everybody like started getting upset about it is the 5G signal initially, not anymore, overlapped with something that's called ADS, active denial system, and which is like 95 gigahertz. And basically what it does is the military has this gigantic dish and radio, and they point it in a direction, and they make everybody's upper layer of skin burn or feel like it's burning. It actually doesn't cause any long-term damage. But because of that, there's a little nugget of truth of like 5G harmful. That, yeah, if it overlaps with that, like that's an interesting concern. However, you have to have directional antenna. There's like more to this, more nuance that you would have to have on your cell tower to operate as a gigantic ADS. But it doesn't overlap with that anymore. And it's
you would
not
require
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would require such incredible power resources to do that. that it wouldn't be worthwhile to send that signal to a phone because it would probably fry the delicate electronics.
Yeah, you're
It's never been about the phone, man. It's always been about frying,
so
cooking skin.
I guess like the people that are crazy about 5G like have a reason-ish kind of, but not really. No. So there.
Yep.
Rant done.
Ignorance
So
is not an excuse in today's world.
That was not the mini rant I thought you were going to go into. I thought the mini rant you were going to go into is the whole fact that all of a sudden different towers are broadcasting that they have 5G for 5G capable phones.
Oh, yeah.
And it's 4G. That's all it's not this. It's same frequency. It's actually a little bit less speeds because of bandwidth capacity. But everybody who has bought a 5G capable phone is going, oh my god, I have 5G and it's so much faster. No,
the number's bigger.
Placebo.
It must be better.
Yeah,
Even
there are
if it's
specific areas in which you can get the high-speed version of 5G, and it has to be outside because the high-frequency part of it cannot pass through paper.
Yep. Lower frequencies have better propagation, just as a general rule.
Yep, and better penetration.
Yes. So like
Always time, Brandon.
300 megahertz is actually supposed to be the most dangerous frequency for like humans as far as like penetrating your skin and stuff. Just as kind of a frame of reference. So yeah.
So everyone just chill out on the 5G.
Yep.
It probably won't kill you. It might.
Yeah. I mean,
But
there
it
might
probably
be
won't.
like data security concerns over like the Huawei stuff, but yeah.
Meh.
Anyway,
All right, Cody, actually go with your topic now.
Okay.
orange box.
So these boxes aren't orange, or they are orange, but everybody thinks of them as black.
Yep.
And for the love of
Black
God,
boxes.
if Valve makes these, it might explain a lot of things, like how they got enough money for Steam, you know, a lot of different things, but they probably don't. So what I'm referring to is the flight data recorder and a cockpit voice recorder box that is actually international orange because, you know, to make it easier to find.
What large structure is also international orange?
Fuck. I kind of think I know where you're going, but drawing a
The
blank.
Golden Gate Bridge is international orange.
That is I thought that was more of a red.
No,
No, it's orange.
the actual technical color of the Golden Gate Bridge is international orange.
Man, it's been such a long
Interesting.
time.
See, if you
since
go
I've
to
seen
Europe,
that.
orange is really red. So, international orange. So,
Anyway, continue, Cody. Tell us about the FDRs.
So these are like they can either be two different boxes. So the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. The cockpit voice recorder records voices in the cockpit, basically what the pilots are saying, and the flight data recorder records all of the little movements and everything that has to do with the airplane, the inputs, the outputs, all of that stuff.
Sensors.
Yeah.
Telemetry.
Yes, telemetry.
Yeah.
That is an excellent word to use, and accurate as well. So these boxes, so a lot of the more modern ones, they actually have both of those together, and there are at least two of those on an airplane. I'm not saying like, you know, a flight data recorder and a cockpit voice recorder, but two of the
Two
combination
systems.
of those. Yeah, two
Yeah,
of each
they're
of
RAID.
those. Yep. My RAID 1, not 0.
Right.
Yes,
Correct.
yes. It's not
Parallel.
this.
Parallel
It is
error.
yeah, it is
It's an
this. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a duplicate.
So these are designed to withstand a crash with a cement wall at 750 kilometers per hour.
So like 400 miles an hour.
Yeah, or something like that. Or 2 tons for 5 minutes, or 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit. So they're pretty substantial boxes. And no, you can't make the entire airplane out of the layered materials that the boxes are made out of.
Nope.
Oh, nice.
434 miles an hour.
Thank you,
Oh,
Google.
Excuse me.
We
Also-
forgive you, Charlie.
Thank you. Also, International Orange.
Ah.
God damn it.
Okay. So we believe you.
Either way,
Please stop flashing the audience with your phone.
Flash. So,
so
No.
what about water resistance?
Yep, they're water resistant. I forget what the depth is on them. They're actually designed so when they hit water, they can output a signal for 1 month. The article that I was reading was saying that the problem is the signal is relatively low distance for that month, so they're trying to make them better. They've also talked about rather than having, and I don't know if this was in addition to or rather than having these black boxes, actually having all of the data upload to satellites. So when you've got stuff like, Starlink covering the world, this could be a new possibility. So right now, when you fly over like the Pacific Ocean, there are parts of that transit where it's kind of guessed, where the airplane knows where it is, but there's no communication with a ground-based station during that part of the transit. So when you look at the track of that, like on some of the websites, like Flight Radar 24 is an excellent website for doing that. It turns into little dashes rather than a straight line. So it's...
I would actually see that as a huge security problem. Is if they were able to upload their telemetry, that would be a vector for a hack.
potentially.
Especially with
Not if it's-
fly-by-wire aircraft.
Not
If it's output only,
exactly.
if there's no inbound, if there's no reception, if it's only broadcast, that wouldn't be an issue. And the benefit of doing a system like that is your planes that go missing, you would have all of the data up until the point where it stopped transmitting.
Now,
Giving
Yeah,
you
then they
more
can kind of work
detail.
out. They can kind of work out where the plane would land, depending on. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now the realistic feasibility of this, I'm not sure, because you have to then add another piece of equipment on the plane to broadcast. And
Well, see, that was going to be my question.
Nope.
Is how much is one of these systems, like in general?
So, a lot of international aircraft already have onboard internet, right? That's all satellite based.
And so there are certain regions where you cannot use it too.
Right. So you would have to bone up the satellite constellation.
Yeah, and that's why I'm curious if with Starlink system, what is it? I know that they use the current good satellite internet, from what I recall, uses the KU band for its internet. Some of them, like the Alaska GoGo in-flight, actually uses it rather than using satellite. It uses towers, so it was much slower than the other stuff.
I wonder what the hop
But
rate would be.
they're switching
on...
it to the KU band stuff.
Okay. I wonder what the hop rate would be with Starlink, though. I wonder if because of how fast the satellites are already going, if you have an aircraft traveling in the opposite direction of the orbit of the satellite, if it would be a quick enough transfer link to get to the next satellite.
Depending on which direction you're
to
flying.
do the handoff.
And you'd probably be connected to multiple satellites always, so it wouldn't be like you're on one and then you reconnect to another one. Like even GPS I know this is a different system, but with my drone, I've got it set where it connects to at least 6 satellites before I take off with it, which in Alaska takes a while.
But the thing there is your GPS satellites are in a higher orbit, so you have a broader field of view from the satellite point of view.
Because you only need
Starlinks,
to
which are more focused.
receive a tiny amount of data versus transmit. Well, I mean, it's...
You would just need a text document. Doesn't
yeah,
have to
really.
be anything.
And that's what it was. When I did that, so I forget what episode, but there was an episode where I talked about an Alaska, or not Alaska Airlines, but an airplane crash on Dutch Harbor. And they had, from the, information, the crash information, part of that was the black box data, or the orange box data, now included with the portal. Yeah.
So, does everyone know why they're called black boxes?
I actually don't know still why it's
that's
actually
a
black.
why.
It's a colloquial term because generally when you're searching for the black box, there's death involved. So
So has it never actually been black? I mean, I would like to
never
think
been
that's
black.
never
It's
made
never been
sense.
it's always been orange.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's always been international orange.
Always a
but it
bright
has
color
always been-
that makes sense.
Yep.
Yep.
Because you want to find it.
In Start Triage, which is a medical mass casualty triage system, it uses green, yellow, red, black. And so if the black tag is involved, it means someone is
They're
dead.
already dead.
Mhm.
What?
Yeah.
Any more information on those, Cody?
Not really that I can think of at the moment, but just found that interesting. And as I was listening to a podcast, they were talking about it. So I'm going to reiterate some of the other podcast stuff on this podcast. Podcastception.
I do have a question for you, Cody.
Okay.
Have you looked into the most recent aircraft accident? Was it Indonesia or was it Malaysia Airs?
The
That was
one
India.
Oh, no, it was... So I remember the last one that I was looking at was the one in Indonesia where they took off and it was like 2 minutes into the flight or something. And then they were, cruising at... or
Climbing.
Yeah, climbing, but steadily. Everything looked good. And then suddenly nosedive into the ocean. So beyond that, I haven't seen like what they thought caused it. It was not a 737 MAX. It was a 737 500, if I remember correctly. So that's 737 Classic. That's not even a 737 NG. So there's the MAX. There's the 737 NG, which is what
New generation.
every one of you, if you've flown, you've probably flown on an NG. And then there's the 737 Classic. And then there's like the OG 737s, which you're going to have to be a lot older than us to have flown on those.
Right.
Or have flown on one privately.
Yeah.
The good news is they crashed in 75 feet of water, so the recovery is not hampered by deep water, and it's a known crash location. So hopefully some new answers on that soon.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Still really sad to... That's
I was gonna ask.
total casualty. There are no survivors from that. Flying still remains much, 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 much safer than driving. Just FYI.
Until everyone is driving Teslas, yes.
Well, it's one of those things of obviously you get in an airplane crash, it's pretty much 100% death, most likely. But a car crash, yeah, you could probably get seriously maimed. But
it depends.
overall,
I wouldn't even say it's mostly death. It's almost always a mass casualty incident, which makes the news.
The crashes that you think about but there's a lot of like crashes with survivors that happen too that aren't as publicized. So
Right. If there's not death, it's not newsworthy.
precisely. So I mean, like, the most famous one would be the incident on the Hudson. So that was a crash, but total survivors.
That was an unscheduled landing.
Still a crash. Which, by the way, people, when you're on an airplane, the first 10 minutes after takeoff and 10 minutes before landing are when you need to keep your shoes on. So don't take your shoes off until after those periods of time. Just an FYI.
Yeah, just in case your flight turns into a cruise.
Yeah. No, it's just a good idea in
Or a
case.
safari.
Yeah, or like that. There was a Russian plane that it was 2 years ago that it caught fire, and because people were grabbing overhead luggage, half the people on the plane died, and they didn't have to. So don't grab your luggage on the way out either. Just don't.
Nothing is that important.
Your life is more important.
And the lives of the people behind you. So yeah.
I don't know.
Or
my
in front of you,
Snuggie
depending on.
It's pretty goddamn important, guys.
It's a good point. I've seen Colton Snuggie. It's nice.
Fucking badass.
Okay.
Oh my God.
And on that note,
No.
we are
Finger
switching.
guns.
Yeah. I almost feel like you should get skipped for that. But please redeem yourself with some heavy metal.
All right.
Or at least a way to measure it.
There's the key right there. Have you guys ever heard
Damn
of...
It up to 11.
Quit with the finger guns.
It's going to be my thing for season 2, bro. See, I
quit.
could... I'm going to have to. Now I'm going to do it just to make you mad. Have you guys ever heard of the National Institute of Standards and Technology?
Yes.
Yes.
Cody should say yes as well. He's heard of it.
I
NIST.
said yes.
Say.
I did say
Oh, I didn't hear that.
yes.
Well, I apologize.
We were in unison.
Oh, well. Well, then you guys tell me about it. I'm just kidding.
Haha.
Aha! Well, there's multiple buildings for it, but the main building's actually in Washington, D.C. It's a part of the Department of Commerce, and it does a very important constitutionally required job of standardizing, measuring, and weights services. Another way to think of that would be they handle the dissemination of all 7 SI base units in the United States. So the 7 SI base units are the second, the meter, the kilogram, the Kelvin, the mole, which is a unit of the amount of a substance, the ampere, which is a unit of electric current, and I believe it's the candela is the last one, which is a measure of luminosity.
Oh, like candlelight.
Yeah, essentially how bright something is all it is, really. Luminous intensity.
No,
Candela.
that's interesting how everything used to be by candlelight, and they've changed that to. Is it luminous?
I would just like to point out that there's this awesome ghost image of a cat on the back of your chair right now. It's just a silhouette because of the screen.
I don't own a cat.
Dun dun dun. Okay, continue, sorry.
Well, I can't see it. That's Brujita, my little trash goblin witch. Literally means little witch in Spanish, Brujita. Anyways, so when we're talking about the dissemination of national standards, you need incredible accuracy. For example, the second is defined as using the hyperfine transition frequency of a cesium-133 atom, which is found to equal 9,192,631. I'm doing this wrong. 9,192,631,770 when expressed as hertz, which is equal to 1 second. Basically, mathematically, that's what a second is defined as. And actually, I didn't know this, but up until recently, the kilogram was actually the only unit that was defined by a physical manufactured object. Basically, it was called the International Prototype of the Kilogram, and it is a golf ball-sized cylinder of platinum and iridium that was cast all the way back in 1879. It's the only one that wasn't defined by, I believe, some mathematical equation, Planck's constant, all these super hyper accurate different ways. That actually changed in 2019 when they decided that all the other standards are are defined more by a concept than by any physical object. So it's actually would be way more accurate just to assume this concept is accurate. So 2019, all these I believe it's called metrologists. I think it's the science of measure,
The metrics
of studying metrics and metrology. They, I believe at the international conference, they got together and being the hyper cool nerds they are, they're like, we want to be accurate in the kilogram as well. So they all got together, decided that a kilogram is basically, I can't remember what it was, a unit of, I think it was something to do with Planck's length or something. It's a weird concept how it did it. Again, quantum shit, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But what's interesting, even though these guys measure relatively small units, they actually, in the US specifically, they have the biggest calibrated weight in the world at 4,448,221 newtons, which is how many pounds, Charlie?
Say the number again.
4,448,221.
100 metric tons?
No. In pounds. Think of it in pounds. Actually, you're pretty close. Relatively close.
It would be a million pounds.
Million pounds.
Yeah.
It is.
I can math.
Damn.
That was impressive, actually. I was
very impressive.
Well done, sir. So again, this is the most accurate, biggest weight in the entire world at 1 million pounds. And basically it's 20 separate weights of stainless steel, and each weight itself weighs about 50,000 pounds. It's about 3 stories tall, and it's used to measure all sorts of push and pull force in this case, from the tensile strength of steel for skyscrapers to the thrust in pounds of the Falcon 9 rocket. So going back to the accuracy of the kilogram, basically, I think recently they actually rebuilt it because it was actually initially built in the 50s or 70s. So it's been used for about 50 years or so. But of course, using these weights over 50 years has actually caused its weight to actually become less accurate due to, well, just atoms being sloughed off, cracks in it, different things.
Oxidation.
Yeah. And we were trying to measure the thrust of a rocket. 50 pounds difference can actually mean the difference between hundreds of miles inaccurate in terms of landing on an asteroid. So it has to be super accurate. So when they rebuilt it, they've actually got the accuracy down to within, I want to say, like 2 pounds of a million, based on so it's freaking ridiculous. Essentially 2 parts in a million. So it's hyper accurate, super cool. And yeah, so it's kind of a cool little thing. Yeah, you guys know about the fact that the NIST does the atomic clock in Boulder in this case, the most accurate one in the world. Yep. So it's kind of weird. And how I found out about this is, for some weird reason, I was watching have you guys ever heard of the YouTube channel Veritasium?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So I was watching that, and then someone in the comments actually said that the NIST website has a for kids section that actually, shut up. Again, lightly researched. So I went to there.
We're all children.
Oh, it's true. But hey, I had to start somewhere.
More than others.
Hey, standards. But it was kind of cool. So I went to the 4Kids section just to see what this government organization did, and they actually did a whole bunch of comics based on each of the 7 SI base units are superheroes. So it's actually, I know, it's actually kind of cool. Well, interesting. Cool. So I don't know. And then from there, I just decided I better adult a little bit and see what other kind of interesting things I could find. But that's what I learned this week. Learned about
that's awesome.
Super cool nerds who like to measure shit super accurately.
And the heaviest of metals.
CCM-133, bitch.
You know how hard it was to hold back all your mom jokes in there? Because the million-pound weight would measure a lot of things.
Yo,
Rocket
mama.
Thrust,
Thank you for keeping this on an elevated platform.
You have turned a corner this season.
Otherwise,
Charlie.
I'm waiting
so proud
for
of you.
Charlie to explode.
I would also like to point out that I know for a fact that all 3 of your moms watch this, and I can't make a joke about any of it.
She would probably find you.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem.
Well, let's see if we can pull you out of the fire a little bit, Charlie. See if we can cool you down some battery storage facts. What you got?
Okay. All right. Who's going to guess on what the battery storage medium is that requires it to be very, 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 very cold? Anybody? Come on, Brandon. I saw that. I saw the hamster spinning in the wheel.
Some sort of capacitor, like superconductor shit?
It is a capacitor. It is definitely a capacitor. That's what a battery is. But it is not a superconductor.
I would have thought for sure.
I'm trying to remember the table of elements.
The elements would be oxygen, nitrogen, to a lesser extent helium, neon.
Air?
Yes, it is air.
Okay.
Really? It is technology
so it's a gas.
based 100 years old at least. So there is a fundamental problem with large bank lithium-ion battery storage. And the problem is the mass of rare earth metals that is required to create a large bank. So most of the Tesla power storage systems, even that are still on the drawing board, would only provide battery backup for a given municipality of about 2 to 4 hours. So you're not going to create a battery bank much larger than that because the practicality would be all off. But ding, with a liquid air system, you could increase that capacity into the 24-hour or greater range. And I'll actually go through the science of all the different parts and how it works. There's fundamentally lithium-ion batteries. There's pumped or pressurized water storage, and then there is liquefied air as far as the battery diversity would go. And what's really cool is that they view this solution as not a replacement for, but rather like brothers and sisters. Like it's going to take a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this to have the energy solution for the future. So you have solar generation, you have wind generation. You know, the watts per dollar per watt is actually really cheap, like between $1 and $2 per watt hour for solar power or wind power. The problem is when you add lithium-ion battery storage into that, it's actually closer to like $100 per watt hour. So what we're trying to do is create an economy of scale for battery storage capacity and to decrease the cost of storage per watt hour. So what you do is using the grid, so your solar, your wind, your natural gas, whatever your power source is, and you cool air into a liquid form. And does anyone know the density of liquefied oxygen compared to gasified oxygen?
Isn't it over 100 times?
It is 700 times. And what's very interesting is by keeping it very cold, it is not a pressurized system. So you do not need pressure tanks. You just need tanks. So what you do is you convert 1 liter of air into 7 milliliters. Okay, or 700 liters into 1 liter. And that whole process of cooling takes energy, which is where you're pulling it from the grid, and you store it in these tanks. Okay, the blue tanks represent the cold storage, and the red tanks represent hot storage. Because if you guys know Newton's laws of energy and matter, is that you do not create or destroy energy, you just change its form. And so when you're cooling something down, you're actually making something else hot. So the base efficiency of this system to just compress it down to to cool it down to liquefied air and then release it. And when you release it, it expands through these expander pipes and then turns a gas turbine. And that gas turbine is how you release energy back into the system through energy generation. That's only 25% efficient. But when you create a larger and larger system, you capture the cooling when you reheat the gas. So when you rapidly expand a gas, it naturally cools it. Okay? And when you compress a gas into a liquid, it naturally heats it. So by capturing the cooling from the expansion process, you make the cooling process more efficient. And when you capture the heat from the cooling process, you make the expansion process more efficient. So with economies of scale, you can actually get this up into the 60s or 70% efficiency scale, which is cool, but no one cares about the efficiency. What they care is about the dollar per watt hour. And that's where this system is really cool. Now, this is not, yeah,
sorry.
This is not the end-all be-all solution. You can't just replace, Tesla's battery systems with this, because what those battery systems allow is for micro level and instantaneous reaction to grid demand. You can think of it as that shock absorber for the system. So it never bottoms out on the service. But when the source goes down, the grid goes down, you have to turn this system on in order to provide long-standing battery flow. So I already mentioned water storage. A pressurized or pumped water system, think filling the Hoover Dam from below with the energy grid. When you release it, you release water through the Hoover Dam, and that's how you get the water back, the energy back. You can only do that geographically where that makes sense. You're not going to do that in the middle of the Sahara because there is no water to do that with. But you could do a liquefied oxygen system in the middle of the Sahara. It does take a little bit more efficiency on the cooling side, but it's totally doable. So these systems are standardized and blueprinted and modular. So you can expand this, and the beautiful part about it is all of this technology, all of its supply chain is liquid natural gas. So the petroleum industry is already making all of the parts and pieces for this system already. There is no new technology involved. In fact, most of this technology is very old. So that's what makes the system beautiful and cheap. So
they produce LNG, or liquefied natural gas, about 30 minutes away from where I live.
Yep. I bet it stinks.
Have they actually built this system, or is this still
yes.
in?
So there are several systems up and running in the United States and several systems in Scotland, and they actually have over 40 on the books right now for projects. And these are storing in the megawatt, and there is one projected in the United States right now for a gigawatt system.
Wow. What are they projecting the cost per watt?
I don't have that exact number. Believe it or not, they didn't want to say that in their presentation at all anywhere, which was really screwy, because it is so dependent on the level of investment you make. The bigger the system, the more efficient it is, and therefore the lower watt hour.
So just for reference, New York City uses about 11,000 megawatt hours of electricity on average each day.
Right. So if you had a gigawatt system, that would run New York City for about 23 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Which, I mean, it's good.
Yeah. And since this is all low pressure, it's not like you have to worry about the thing exploding.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. How safe is the system in general? But
because
it doesn't
just
seem
really
like it's
safe.
any.
So there's only really one big problem with liquefied air systems, is that they can't be anywhere near asphalt. If you were to accidentally release it, and if you ever look at the liquefied oxygen towers at hospitals, they're always built on a concrete pad, and they can't have asphalt within 50 feet of them. Because if you pour liquid oxygen on asphalt, it explodes.
The oxygen or the asphalt?
Both together. You form a fire triangle because you're adding oxidation to a fuel source, and the temperature gradient is enough for a fire. And it's not a small boom. It's a very big boom.
Okay. Bye
So
hospital.
they have to be built on concrete. Oh darn.
Oh darn indeed.
Yep.
Big asphalt won't like it. We don't like them anyways.
Yeah. Again, mom jokes in here about big asphalts, but no, we can't do that. All right.
I knew a guy that was in medium asphalt.
Brandon.
You ever operate a paver?
Yes, I have actually, and it wasn't fun.
Never
Brandon,
a paver. I've done one of those. What do you call those sealer things? Those suck too.
Oh, chip sealer! Oh my god, chip sealing is so pointless.
Ugh.
Yep.
Most construction people will tell you how stupid chip seal is.
Yep. Build it out of concrete.
Okay, stop it. Okay. Brandon, zombies. Tell us about zombies.
Zombie.
She just rolled over her in her grave. I hope you're happy.
Maybe I should just do that more, and we can put a copper coil around her with some magnets and just.
There we go.
Jesus,
new
Brandon.
energy source right there.
Just make her
well,
super
we just
cold.
got our first piece of hate mail. It's from the family of Dolores O'Riordan. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for watching TWIL.
That's all we got for you.
We'll probably never see you again. No, Microsoft has recently filed a patent that, if you don't look too closely, still looks fucking horrifying. This patent describes the idea that a chatbot could be made to emulate a specific person by using social data. That's direct from the documentation. This would include images, voice data, social media posts, electronic messages, written letters, behavioral profiles, transactional data, geolocation data, and basically anything else that you have ever put on the web or anyone else has put on the web on your behalf or
like a podcast.
Someone delete my browser history.
Yeah. The patent also specifically calls out that the person may correspond to a past or present entity, such as a friend, a relative, an acquaintance, a celebrity, a fictional character, a historical figure, or a random entity, or anything else that they want. It further details that the idea is to create a 2 or 3D model in order to have a talking head that one could interact with virtually. They also make allowances for a specific person to correspond with oneself, meaning that a living user could train a digital replacement for themselves.
I make too many jokes every week about having to clone myself.
Okay, I've got a guesstimation, and so I see a lot of dark ways that this could go, but I see one kind of cool, interesting. So they want to make Cortana real. I mean,
yes.
Real like.
I'll be okay with that.
Like actual personal assistant.
She's actually Halsey.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. Sorry.
So
I like Halo.
I like Cortana.
I like the writing of it. I don't like the actual games. Games are crap. They are. Sorry, Half-Life was way better when Halo came out. Just, way better.
Yep. Yeah, so I can understand why someone would want to talk to a person from a fictional world, because you brought up Cortana. My example, how cool would it be to have Darth Vader as your personal assistant? Or do like Wayne Watts from Ready Player One and go with Max Headroom as your personal agent software.
Do you want Skynet? Because this is how you get Skynet.
Yeah.
Possibly.
The fictional characters is where I would like us to just stop.
Yep. Hal?
Hitler? You could have
I mean...
Hal as your personal assistant. Hitler is your personal assistant.
I could totally see some idiot making a virtual Hitler.
That'd be a
That's
shit
just-
post and a half. They've
I
already
would,
done it.
I would make a Hitler just to torture him.
Hitler off of epic rap battles. Or rap battles in history. Yeah.
Actually, most of
Yes.
those characters would be pretty fun.
Yeah, there you go.
Some level.
Just have those as the data point for this.
They should.
And
They
then-
should be the
sure.
list of the personal assistants. All those characters.
Yep.
Anyways,
I don't know. I don't understand the want to bring a loved one back digitally.
Gotta let go.
No, that's
It's entirely too
Yeah.
tempting.
that's
It's
a
entirely too
whole.
tempting. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, have any of you watched the Upload series on Amazon?
It's on the list.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I will try not to go too much into that. But bringing your loved ones back digitally, you can kind of see how this digital transference could lead to the depreciation of death
Well,
in
it's
society.
in a way, it's already happening. If you look at, I guess he's not really dead, but if you look at, Star Wars, Carrie Fisher,
Yeah.
they used her likeness after she was
Yeah,
dead.
CGI.
That's kind of a big issue.
Well, but I
Hollywood
mean,
needs to figure
that's kind of where this is going, and I honestly don't know what I feel about this, because in a way, this eliminates them, even though they're changing characters, but it eliminates a job of a lookalike or somebody else. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, it's very rare that I'm against new technology, but this. I guess it's, technology is neither good nor bad. It's just how it is utilized. And this is what I see with this specific.
So I have two thoughts on it. Like, in terms of grief counseling, I think if it's done correctly with a little more study, I think it can help people. I think it can help people let go on some level.
I'm with that face expression.
But
But
here's part two of that. If I don't like the idea of reanimating a loved one, because in terms of, well, making them a personal, not a personal assistant, but making them an AI character, that's not the same person. Like, it's, if you compare that to, say, uploading a conscience, that's a whole different ball game. If that place, you're cheapening death, but that's theoretically, again, it's theoretically, but you're theoretical, whatever, but you're uploading the actual person versus creating a copy of them that is based on.
So the difference is
not
it's
them.
still a copy.
When you upload
but
a
it's still
conscience,
them, but
do
it's
you
no matter
realize,
how good the scan is.
Okay, this is not any more wrong than what we already do. And there are people out there that turn their loved ones' ashes into dildos. And like, people are doing terrible, terrible things already.
Yeah.
The only things that I'm going to, as far as possible benefits, is you somehow recreate Stephen Hawking and just turn him loose on data and try to figure out physics.
See,
But why
But
would
that's the
you,
thing,
if you had
it's-
the ability to do that, why would you make a character? Just have
not
an
just turn
algorithm.
the
I
data
mean,
loose?
that's you're going back into
And I
the
mean-
idea of AI and uploading a conscience again.
I mean, you learn
And-
from death too, and this irks me because people would have less of an opportunity to learn from travesty. It sounds cynical when I say it, but this is part of life, and that's
cheapens-
okay.
It cheapens the cost of death.
Yeah.
But
I'm with-
if you want to go philosophical, death has kind of been sort of cheapened on some level because we're trying
have
so hard
photos.
to push it
Yeah.
off. Then you obviously add in the
It's-
fact that our digital life is essentially forever saved anyways. I mean, I have
But
multiple Facebook friends that aren't alive, but
Right.
on some
But
level,
see, that's one thing of preserving what was already done versus trying to create new data from existing data in the shape of a person.
And can we all argue at this
I-
point that Facebook is not the goodness of society?
Yeah.
Same.
right,
It's
so-
the same
Yeah.
technology issue.
But
Yeah.
now to go
But-
on the other side of things, and I'm gonna play up to
Okay.
my partner right here, because these two don't have them yet. If I were to die, it would provide me some solace that my children could talk to something that resembles me, and have that thing represent my love to them.
This
That
is
It.
that
This
would
is
be
Black
that would
Mirror.
be that would provide value to me, as
It's-
long
it-
as that
Again-
AI, because that's what it's going to be, is wholesome and good and not my browser history. Just being honest.
Really wants us. Second time.
Wow,
Guys. We really got to work on
okay,
getting him
yep.
to his browser.
Hey, it's part of my will. I'm serious. Like,
but that
one of
is
y'all has to
who you
remote
are,
in and
though.
Kill
fucking
switch.
delete this.
I
It-
mean, the bad and
Yes.
the
So-
good. Like in 10 years, what happens if we determine that your browser history is only for the good of society? You know, if
I don't
Yeah,
think
social
Charlie's
media-
browser
No,
history
no,
is
if
good
social
for the
norms
society.
change
I think
or something.
it's on the same lines of Bill Gates. You're not worth microchipping.
Yeah.
So
I'm not worried about it.
and you can't.
It-
I'm
Let me clarify the point. I would say with my idea with Charlie is maybe not grief counseling, but resolving past issues. Think of it
still
like
grief
that.
counseling,
Like
that's
you
still
didn't get to say
closure.
goodbye the way you wanted to. There's a way
No.
to do it with more study, like, because we have to understand our psyche better. We have to understand grief. It can still.
So
There's a way to do it. I think there's a way to do it.
My issue with that is that any scan or any AI created based off of the outward projections of what I have done is not equal to me, the person who has made those decisions, who has had internal dialogue to reach those decisions. It is a total Machiavellian tactic to take the output that you have done and try and recreate a psyche.
Especially
It is
based off of
it is
social
missing
media,
so many
too.
steps.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Oh, yeah.
there's more to your digital life than social media, Cody. I mean,
They
can find it
I
from the
guess
videos you do. I mean,
YouTube
even-
history. Yeah.
there's more.
But
I mean, there's
even
entire profiles. on you.
Everybody's gonna seem egocentric.
Yeah. Well, even this podcast, we are all putting out our
Hashtag.
best appearances, right? We're all trying to do the best that we can do. And it does not take into account all of the stuff behind the scenes, right? So
And again, we're
I would
talking.
not want that.
It
kind of.
goes to the difference between, again, if the technology gets to the point where we can upload our conscience, I think that can happen, honestly, if we understand it correctly. And at that point, would you
Okay.
not still be, if you can
I have a
prove
question
somehow, if you can prove
regarding-
somehow that conscience, that conscience is somehow sentient and knows everything about you. It's the same thing with teleportation, where your body gets destroyed. Are you the same person? That's a philosophical debate. Even if everything is the
yeah.
exact same as that in that quantum state as it happens, because then you're talking soul and other
Because
issues.
there is destruction before creation. It is not the same.
Even
Well, I mean, if
quantumly,
you look at-
it is exactly the same.
Yeah,
Even
if you look
quantum.
at like quantum entanglement, there could be an
No.
argument.
You are so in transporter technology as featured on Star Trek, you are destroyed, stored, transmitted, and then recreated. You are not in the same quantum state. You are not the same being.
Still, that's
The only way
So
to
you're
do-
saying Barkley was right. We should be afraid.
Yes. Absolutely. I used to not think that, but as I've gotten older and thought more about the science behind it, if somebody was like, "Hey, do you want to travel instantly?" I would be like, "Is it a wormhole?" Because if it's not a wormhole, fuck off.
Yeah,
It's one of
instant
those things of-
personal
Okay, Thomas
FTL.
Riker.
Again, you also goes back to what Cody. I'll go to Cody's point of societal norms will change. I think
They will.
if we don't kill ourselves.
Yeah. But
Fingers
enough
crossed
about
on
next
that.
Not the
Tuesday.
truth.
Well, let's assume we don't. Let's just assume has everyone's best interest at heart. If societal norms get to the point where we understand consciousness on a higher level than what we do now, that this particular argument could be seen in a completely different light. It's all about perspective.
It could be.
And when you say
and
upload,
technology, the way
could be.
because we're thinking in terms of what technology is right now, because we know that an AI is obviously an AI. We know that it doesn't have thought. We know it doesn't.
can I interject something quick here?
Go ahead.
Here's a concern of mine. When we say upload somebody's consciousness, are we there's a difference between one way and two way. One way goes kind of what this is saying is that we get that person, even if we do it more perfect, having the internal monologue and stuff, that it's their outward appearance to everyone. Or there's a difference between two-way uploading of consciousness where that consciousness in itself can think and behaves as that person and is self-aware. So if it's outward, again, there's a few thousand years of difference between those two things happening, I think.
I think we need to add this to our list of debate topics at this point, boys, because we're going to talk about this all night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
let's
assume the $1 trillion company only has our interests at heart, guys. I think that's a good way to look at it.
So yeah, back to the actual document. Is this a patent they're filing?
It is a filed patent. Yes. And there will be links to the patent. It is 21 pages long, and it is some pretty dry content. Yeah. But getting back to what I have written down, one of the other things that concerns me about this is that they also say that it can be currently a live person. So why would you want that when the person could be doing the talking for themselves? Because it could create all sorts of issues.
Voicemail.
Where
think about it.
Yeah, and I'm getting to that.
Think about it like blockchain. It's a way of verifying the product. So you upload the consciousness, and it is that two-way communication, and that effectively is a way of growing and validating the consciousness.
So like a signature
actually,
in a weird way.
Yeah, but it's,
if they actually do match, then you've successfully created the AI, and then now you know how to do it.
Yeah, but this is just a chatbot. Like, this is all it is. Like, the philosophical debates that we were having earlier are very interesting, but this is just a chatbot.
This is a rudimentary first stage of the shit we were talking about.
I see this as you want to write your senator a letter, and this is the response you get from your senator is this thing that is created.
It's interesting just to thinking about it in terms of the negative, because obviously you have the $1 trillion company Microsoft putting out a patent doesn't mean they're necessarily going to do anything with it. It's just to control the technology if it does.
True.
I think this is a popular enough idea. It has been expressed enough in science fiction that this is probably something they're going to actively work on. And they have been working on chatbots before. They've actually gotten into some trouble for letting chatbots loose on social networks.
Because they let it ingest all the internet, and it turns out the internet's like 97% evil. So
and racist as all get out. Yeah.
Hence the higher level of thought we need to get to. But anyways.
Yeah. But because I want to end this on a good note, hopefully to start the year off right, here's my last food for thought. What if you train a chatbot for yourself, then tie it into your email and Teams where you work, then set it up to notify you of to-do items? You could take yourself out of 90% of the incoming communications, freeing you up to do all of the important tasks. Kind of reminds me of Roy's answering machine from the IT crowd. Hello, IT, have you tried turning it off and on again?
It would be nice to have a system that actually controls the notifications in my life in any sort of intelligent way, as I would do it if I actually had the time.
I see interesting things from this, but I worry that if this attends meetings for you and reports back to you in notifications,
then we can enjoy more stuff.
I'm not talking meetings, but like I get Teams messages that half the time it's like, the first thing I do is, have you put in a heat ticket for this? I need the ticket number so that I can look up all of the other pertinent information.
To be fair, like
Have
these
you done
big
this?
companies
Have you done that?
with tech support, like when you're doing chat, a lot of times you're talking to a chatbot that are doing the same basic concept.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, they've had
But
that
this would have more
CenturyLink.
personality and yeah.
I remember the CenturyLink ones that I used to break. You just say something that no human would say, like, no. Or
They've probably gotten more sophisticated since then.
yeah, you
I would
just
hope.
scream at them in
I'm sorry,
high
I didn't
pitch,
understand that.
and they go away. It's the same thing that I do.
I'm
to
sorry,
random,
blur.
Yeah,
We're
random,
sorry, your
like,
internet is down. Wait, how
social-
are you talking?
people that call my number that are like, "This is Agent Jib. Your social security number has been hacked," and I'm go, "Yep, sure, I'll talk to a person," and then I make a really high pitched noise at them for about 30 seconds.
Don't do it.
I'm not
Please
going
don't.
to do it.
Please don't.
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate you fine people.
And we don't want your eardrums bleeding.
Yeah.
Not
But
yet.
They would be.
they hang up. Like, the longest one has been about 5 seconds.
I started playing, like when I get them on my work phone, I start playing music with the number pad. Like on Christmas when I got a call, it was Christmas Eve. I did exactly Jingle Bells on the numpad, and I actually had the other person start joining in.
Oh,
And it was
See,
kinda
that's fun.
hilarious.
That's connecting on a
Yeah.
human level. That's
Yeah,
fun. They're
that-
just working.
Yeah.
They're just working, trying to steal your money. But yes, it is a real human on the other end, too. So.
Yep.
And
But sometimes it's nice just to mash the button and
Or switch languages randomly. Zdravouye.
Guten Tag, wie geht's?
German
Yes, I'm
just
calling about
always
your
sound
extended
good.
warranty. Nein! Ich kann nicht! But your extended warranty. Really, on what
German.
vehicle?
Stop with the finger guns.
It's going to be a thing. Charlie.
Here we go.
See?
Here we go.
3 out of
Thumbnail. 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 Cool. Mark that
Wrap
down.
this shit
Seeker.
up.
That'll be our
God,
thumbnail.
I hate you all.
Mark that down. Timestamp that shit.
4. Shit. 112. Okay.
Take us
Okay.
home, Brandon.
Yes, that is what needs to happen as soon as I can get back to our internal notes. Yes. Okay. So, Colton, where can we find you?
My name is Colton Roper. I also go by the gaming handle Seeker4761 on multiple platforms, including Twitch.
That's how many...
Facebook.
Sorry.
Oh, go
that's
ahead.
how
No, go
many
ahead.
times we're going to do finger guns.
We're halfway there, boys. Oh.
God,
can
and you
find
had
me-
to say the word halfway, didn't you?
Oh, you know it. You
Don't get us-
fucking
don't
know
get us
it.
copyrights.
No.
Can't do it.
Nope.
You can find me on Twitch, Facebook Gaming, YouTube, probably a couple other places, but Blizzard, I'm sure. Let's see here. I'm also a contributor to the techpirate.net. As you can see behind Brandon, that is the logo for the group, I guess you can call it. Hopefully we'll be doing some more content this year, both in article form and in the YouTubes. And Cody, where can we find you online?
You can find me on YouTube, where I haven't put up a video in about a year. So you can find me decaying on YouTube. You can also find me as also a contributor to the techpirate.net, where I think I have a new article idea. It's more of a rant, so. But it's
Oh,
a
good.
good
Hey,
rant.
we like
it's a
rants.
constructive rant.
The gripes. We have the gripes.
just call
That's
them
what it's
the
for.
gripes.
It's
I
the gripes.
really hope that this company ups their game, and I will try to present it in a constructive and jubilant
Not in the-
way.
Not in the gripes.
Okay.
You're allowed to be angry.
Yes, you are.
It's
Absolutely.
encouraged.
I'll try.
It's encouraged.
You can also find me on Blizzard as Zito Valder. I'm going to let you guess how to spell that, and it's probably not the way you're thinking.
Xiito.
That is supposed to be a guess, Dracanis.
VAL.
They can guess Valder.
A guess. Where I play
I guessed
Overwatch and occasionally not StarCraft 2, kind of, maybe, but yeah. You can also find me on RSI, blah, 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 games, whatnot. Charlie, you go.
I'm Charlie Stifler. You can find me here every week. I have plans to contribute to the Tech Pirate. I'm confident I will get it done in 2021. I'm hoping in the next month or so, but you know, life.
You've got
Brandon,
11 months-ish.
take us home.
Okay. You've already said that.
Yeah.
Well,
Say it
I
I want to go home.
I'm so tired.
Apparently. Jeez.
I want to go to sleep.
Actually, I want to go there. Look at that water.
It's real nice.
Yeah, that is beautiful looking. Better than the snow. I would rather either be on that beach or have lots more snow so that I can go hit some pow.
Like that much snow?
This, what you can see behind me, was actually the sky about a week ago and here in Arizona. It's very pretty one day. Alto Sirius.
And that sky led to this snow in Colorado.
You're welcome. 3 days later. Like clockwork.
So, can we also find you on Instagram, Seeker?
Probably.
Yeah,
I'm
with
on the
pictures
gram.
like
You
that.
can find me on the gram.
There you go. See what I was
Hell
doing
yeah.
there? Okay.
Well,
Home.
I am Brandon Vader, also known as Dracanis. You can find me on thetechpirate.net. You can find me on YouTube as The Tech Pirate, or I also have a motorcycle video, I think, under Brandon Vader. I do need to start going through. I did a lot of recording this summer and just never did anything with it. But if you're into gaming and into Star Citizen, you can find me as Dracanis Vader. So yeah, that's where you can find me. So thank you all for joining us on this episode of This Week I'm Learning. You can find us... nope.
Say it.
Good
Just
try.
read it.
Good try.
Just read it.
Fine. You can find us ending sentences with prepositions whenever you listen to podcasts, as well as on YouTube at This Week I'm Learning. For your social media peeps out there, you can find us on Twitter at ThisTwil. If you'd like to contact us, you can send an email to twil@thetechpirate.net. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I personally think this is episode 1 of season 2 and not episode 31, because you can just add the seasons together and have a count, and when we hit 100 or 700 or 4,000,
the funny thing is it doesn't really matter. We could do both.
So every time we flip to a new season, we go, this is season 2 episode 30 or episode 60 in total.
I would just rather do the total.
I hate you guys.
Well, it's a good thing we all have 4 completely separate ideas, guys. I'm glad
Did you know
cohesive.
That OCD is spelled wrong? It should be CDO, so it's in alphabetical order.
Compulsive disorder organization obsessive?
Compulsive disorder
of
obsessives. Yeah. That's
Get it right. Get it right.
Screw you, hippie. Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Laugh it up, furball.
Let's do it. Let's do a podcast.
Is that our new
We
theme
have
song?
to.
Let's do it. Doing a podcast.
This week I'm learning. Ain't learning shit. Da-da-da.
Canceled. Episode 1, Season 2.
Right.
We tried.
It's a good thing we're not produced by Fox. That's all I'm saying. We would not have made it this far.
We'll be at episode 15, 24.
Firefly, the Chicago
3.
Code, Terra Nova. Those are just the 3 most recent loved.
Futurama.
I know we all like to think highly of ourselves, but I don't think we're anywhere close to Firefly status.
No.
No.
Not yet.
Like, let's be realistic, guys.
They got canceled after 1 season.
The key is our fans, once we actually get canceled, we need to make a movie about our podcast.
Okay.
And one of us has to die?
Yeah, I'll be Wash. Thank you.